Let's all go to the mall.
Party with your favorite monsters during Halloween Horror Nights.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Stay and Scream podcast. I am your host, Tim, and we're going to do our HHN34 year in review ranking episode with you guys. But I can't do this by myself, so we have the other hosts with me. So I'm just going to go around the room or on my screen if you're watching on YouTube. So Brady, how are you this evening?
Hey, what's up? I'm thrilled to be here. I think I speak for all of us. Cannot wait to get into ranking some houses. That's all I got. That's the important thing here.
Do you feel the arguments coming already?
I think we're gonna have minimal arguments this year. Actually, I really do.
Ooh.
I don't know. We'll
I think there's going to be a little in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Just a guess. All right, let's toss it over to Ash. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing well, my friend. Nice to be back recording. I always love doing this end of season ranking episode. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Good. And then finally, how's it? Lastly, last but not least, I can't even figure out the
there it is. There
saying.
it is.
Last but not least but not last. Liz, how are you?
Least but not last. I'm dead. I'm great.
I'm sorry.
I'm dead.
I know. I'm sorry. All right.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Wait, Tim, how are you?
I'm all right. Apparently, I don't know how to speak anymore, so there's that. So. I'm excited. It's good to get together with you guys again and talk about some more HHN and basically wrap up the season that we just had for HHN34. So let's just get right into it, right?
Let's do it.
So we're gonna do the rankings episode. So we're gonna do basically the houses, and then we're gonna do the scare zones and experiences together. I don't think we're really gonna. We'll mention the shows, but if we did this, this would be 2-hour episode just from Ash talking about Nightmare Fuel, and none of us want that. I mean, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll have Ash do
next week's episode.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, are you guys gonna tell them about the Nightmare Fuel special that we have coming out?
Yeah, so
Nightmare Fuel Christmas special.
Christmas special.
Yeah.
So basically the way we do this is basically we just go from 10 to 1 for the houses, and with this year with the experiences and the zones 6 to 1 if I have counted correctly. Do we want to just mention and talk about the shows real quick and just get them kind of out of the way and get into the zones and the houses, or do you want to just not talk about them and just forget those, right?
We all
know
how we feel.
Ghoulish and the Nightmare Fuel that Ash basically lived his entire life there this year after going the first time. So.
Ghoulish was okay. Nightmare Fuel, fantastic. If I was ranking the event as a whole, Nightmare Fuel would be number 1. There, covered it.
Unbelievable.
The best experience at the entire event for Ash.
Right.
Ever.
Not even a house.
Above hangs too.
Yeah.
He doesn't even care about hanging out. He's like, I'm going to Nightmare Fuel.
Equal. Hangs at Nightmare Fuel.
So it had
saved it.
Okay, I get it now. All right.
Yep.
So let's just get into it. We're going to talk about the scare zones and the experiences first. So basically 6 to 1. We've got experiences, scare zones. We're going to rank them 6 to 1. Who wants to go first? How's that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Liz.
Not everybody at once.
All right, Liz. Start it off.
Are we gonna do just all 6, or are we gonna go round robin?
You know what? Why don't we let's try something different, Liz?
Just do all 6.
Do
all 6 for the zones.
Yeah,
And we'll do round robin for mazes. Yeah.
I like that.
Got it.
All right, Liz. All right,
Yeah.
give us your 6 to 1 ranking for the houses, for the scare zones and the experiences.
All right, so we've grouped them together. It's gonna be both scare zones and street experiences together because I feel like the street experiences were kind of like zones, so we're just gonna go with that. My number 6 is Club Horror. I think that speaks for itself. It was fun, but not really a zone. Number 5 is Origins of Horror. Just didn't live up to my hype. Now, those final nights, there was some fun stuff happening in there, but still, I wanted more out of that zone than just some photo ops. Number 4, I have Mel's Die-In. I thought this was fantastic. I hope they keep that every year. I would never get tired of it. I loved it. Number 3 was Cat Lady of Crooked Lane. I liked it. I loved having the pumpkins back in the trees, but I just didn't quite hit the way I wanted it to. So it's a 3 for me. Number 2, I have Toxic 20s, which I feel like Ash is currently in, but it was fun. I really liked it. I liked the amount of people. I liked the theming. I loved the color package, and those greens and purples were really cool to see, something very different. The lights and the buildings, but there was one I just loved more, and everyone probably knows because this is where I lived this season. It's Masquerade at number 1. I loved the costumes, loved the music, loved those vampire stilts with the stained glass dresses. Stunning, the little show that they did. I loved it. So yeah, Masquerade number 1. Overall, Scare Zones, way better than recent years.
Excellent. All
To
right.
no surprise.
Yeah, 100%. I guess we'll just go around, so it'll be me, and then we'll send it to Brady and Ash. Liz, I almost thought we had the same exact ranking on this. So number 6, I also had Club Horror. Great addition. I'm just not like a party guy like that. Like, you know, if you want to do that, just go to the club. But it is a great addition because you can see people definitely enjoyed this area, just kind of hanging out, chilling. You can get a drink that was, you know, right there or whatnot, and just kind of hang out, listen to the music. Number 5, I also had the Origins of Horror. Weakest scare zone in my opinion, you know, out of the bunch this year. Just really, I mean, there was people in there, but I don't know, it just didn't hit like in past years where they actually had that scare zone all the way down, which was nice this year that they did have it all the way down again and not just like, you know, canned up in front. So I also too then had Mel's Die-In, the zombies at number 4. I think this was a super, super great addition, and I agree with Liz. This could have been an actual scare zone, honestly, if they really wanted to take it a little further than they did this year. And maybe they will, you know, coming next year or the year after. Who knows? All right, so this is where we differ, Liz. So I have Masquerade at number 3.
Wow.
Nothing wrong with it, but it's just not my thing. It just, this zone was just not, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. But I loved it. I thought the costuming was fantastic in this zone, though. Loved the little stages. You know, always a good time in the Hollywood area. Number 2, I had Mutations, Toxic 20. So basically, Liz, if you figured it out, we just switched our 1 and 3. Toxic 20s. I think this was just a fun scare zone for me. Just watching this, I thought the interactions in this zone were actually super fantastic as well. And then number 1, rounding it up, the Cat Lady of Crooked Lane. I loved seeing Halloween back in Central Park. I loved that the Cat Lady had her own house at the end. She had her own little show. I also liked that they had a little, we'll call it a little mini house run, if you will, on the right-hand side that they had there. It was kind of neat. You know, and they had some scare actors in there, you know, scaring you as you walk through that. So that is my 6-1 for the scare zones. All right, Brady.
Interesting. Okay, maybe we will argue on this episode. Little crazy to see Cat Lady at number 1, but no judgment.
Little judgment.
A little judgment. I'll skip over explaining
Sounds like
this.
a lot of judgment, honestly.
Maybe. I'll skip over explaining this, but 6 and 5, I have Club Horror and Origins of Horror, same as you guys. Club Horror, great addition. I know, like, for me at least, like, watching people enjoy it gave me some enjoyment. Obviously not my thing, and it's not exactly a zone, but I'm glad that there is something that maybe makes a little more sense in San Francisco. So that is a win for me. Origins of Horror, you know, that front area of the park seems to always just suffer. It's just hard to pull a zone off there. It's too crowded, so they put like very minimal like invasive street props out. But I liked the big birds and I loved the gargoyles. Those were probably, you know, the best part. And I thought the statues of everybody, like for the IPs, that was a cool idea. So in terms of like recent years, and I think Liz said this, definitely stands out in the last 5 or so front of the park zones. I have Cat Lady at number 4. I loved
Ooh.
seeing the pumpkins back. I love traditional Halloween. I got, this is a very traditional Halloween design from HHN34. I love that kind of stuff, but the cats themselves just didn't quite do it. I think going into this year, I knew it was going to be a little bit campy, and I expected it. But then getting there and seeing, like, I don't know, it was almost like even more campy than I expected. And I had a real problem with, like, the, like, halfway transition ones. Like, the people that are almost more victims were cool, and the full-blown cats were cool. But I had a real tough time getting into the, like, humans with, like, one arm fuzzy and like I don't know, it kind of lost me a little bit. Number 3, Liz, sorry, Masquerade.
Dang.
I really did like Masquerade. It's not that I didn't like it, but there's just 2 things better. Number 2, we have Toxic 20s. Loved it. New York was great. I loved all of the green. I loved all of the music choices in there. That was awesome. Just some like stereotypical classic like Halloween Horror Night stuff is what that zone felt like to me. Like between costuming and which masks and prosthetics they went with, the lighting, like prop wise, like everything just screamed like we're gonna give you a very objective Halloween Horror Night scare zone, and that always works for me. And then I don't know if this is sacrilegious, but I have the Mel Zombies at number 1, and
That's
it's not even a
wild.
scare zone. But
That's
I
wild.
I had the most fun there. I had the best interactions. I would see the same zombies night after night after night try to offer me a heart. I mean, I think all of you can speak for this. We live for the kind of personal like interactions that you
Yes.
build all season long, and I just feel like Mel's was sick. And on top of like not anything to do with my personal experience, just objectively, Mel Zombies is so perfect. I will go on record about this. I don't know how we've never done this before. Like, obviously, I didn't come up with it either, so somebody had to. I'm not saying, like, oh, how did I not come up with this earlier? But, like, it's so on the nose and perfect. Like, have super campy, blue, painted, like, 50s zombies in front of Mel's. It's awesome. And the
Leave
roller
'em there.
skates, too. Come on.
Light up
Yeah.
roller skates.
Yes, I was just going to say the light up roller skates were awesome, and I just want to say I agree with Brady, like especially with the how the zombies were blue, just a little different take that I feel
Yeah.
like HHN has, that they took this year with that. It was awesome. I'm glad you actually had that at number 1. That's kind of cool. All right, Ash.
Right, I am definitely more aligned with my man B over here. All right, here goes. 6-1. I'm starting with Origins of Horror.
Ooh.
Yeah,
This guy's got a zone below Club Horror.
His influence.
I
Spoiler
wonder
alert,
why.
Spoiler alert, I have 2.
Oh my
below.
god!
So, Origins of Horror, I think it's definitely one of the better kind of table of content zone we've had in a little while. What did we have last year? Duality of Fear was a bit of a joke. So a decent bounce back. I do agree the statues were really cool. That depicted each IP of the year. I think that's a really cool touch. They should bring something back maybe next year to represent the IPs, possibly, because I do like that touch. Number 5, I have Cat Lady of Crooked Lane.
Damn.
Love the Halloween vibes. Love it. It just felt Brady hit everything I was going to say. The sort of scare actors in the actual Central Park bit just didn't work for me. It almost felt disconnected from the house area too, in my opinion. There was like a really dark spot where between the house and the actual zone, and I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it. Love the pumpkins back up there. Give me something traditional Halloween every year. I hope they keep this, but it just didn't work for me. The whole thing together. Number 4, Club Horror. Just having
There
a
it
beer
is.
and just people watching. Come on.
This is blowing my mind.
And then there's like pop music on and stuff. There's like Taylor Swift on.
If you
I'm just
give
loving
Ash
life with a
Madonna
drink.
and a beer, he's set.
That's
I'm
exactly
Very
it.
true. Very true.
That's exactly it. And I had a ton of good time in there as well. So Club Horror, Mel's Dying Zombies will be number 3. Loved the music there. The scare actors in here did not stop. They were so good. Whether they were on skates or not, they were just on point all the time. I never walked through it where I wasn't like harassed in a good way by a scare actor asking if they wanted, a piece of leg. I think the street experiences, I've got them at 3 and 4. I think they were a triumph. These two, I hope they do more. I don't know where else they could fit them. You know, if San Fran went back to a more traditional zone, is there another space in the park where they do almost like a pop-up street experience? You know, maybe the area where horror makeup is there, maybe. But I think they were both a triumph. Number 2, Masquerade. You guys have touched on it. Just makeup, costuming, interactions, the little sideshows, all hit for me. You know what? It was number 2, and it was probably the least I spent in a zone 2, Masquerade. I did spend a decent amount of time in there, but definitely the least out of these 2. So that tells me it must have been a good zone if I liked it so much, not spending a whole amount of time in there. Finally, number 1 is why I'm green tonight, you know? Not really, it's just green. But Mutations, Toxic 20s. I had a really good time in here. I always link it to what like character interactions I've had and, you know, interactions I've had in the street with different scare actors. I probably had the most memorable ones in here. So, yeah, and it was right next to Cram Tots, too. So, win-win. Dub. So, Toxic 20 is my number 1.
Excellent.
You know, and
excellent.
none of us mentioned the chainsaws being back in Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, another great addition
Oh, yeah.
to having lots of options on the streets this year.
Yeah, and they were super interactive until
Yes.
like the final 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
was
what-
so nice to have them back.
So what do you think? Do you guys think they'll bring more street experiences to next year with an anniversary year, or we kind of?
I see them keeping Club Horror. And maybe Mel's. Honestly, I could see those two being like more of like a expected annually thing where
Yeah,
like
just like
Club
the
Horror
chainsaws.
isn't a zone. It's going to just be like the bar and whatnot. And maybe they change what the dancers have like theming and costuming wise. And then Mel's like, maybe this is just me being hopeful, but I could see that just being like we have Mel's zombies every year.
Yeah. And it works for me. Like, I don't
And I'd
mind
be
that
down
the
for it.
chainsaws are typically
Yeah.
clowns in front of Simpsons. It works for that area. It
Yeah.
looks like a midway. So keep
Right.
the clown chainsaws, keep the Mel zombies, keep Club Horror.
Absolutely.
I'm fine with it.
I love it. Yeah, I'd be more than happy with that.
I'm going to be honest here. I thought Ash was going to try to sneak Nightmare Fuel in as his number 1 in this in this category.
I can't
as
justify
well,
that as a zone, even me.
Well, I just thought you were going to try and put it in anyway. So, all
Ash,
right.
what
Hey,
about
this time,
the
yeah,
zone?
we have a house list.
What about the zone on the way to Fallout and Galkin where you can kind of hear the music? Is that
That's a
is that
great
the
zone.
zone?
That's a great zone. Yeah, and I'm always sad when I'm not in there and I can hear the music.
Oh man, houses, huh?
Houses.
It's time.
It is
It is
time.
Now it's time
It's
for
the main
fight.
event.
Traditional.
Main course.
All right, so we're gonna make this real easy. We're just gonna keep the same order, okay? So
Ooh,
we're gonna
love
go
that.
Liz, me, Brady, Ash.
Love it.
Right.
Okay, we're just gonna go one after the other, go from there, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. So
Sounds
Liz, you're starting us off. So we're going from 10 to 1. So kick it
Kicking
off.
us off. Number 10, surprising no one that knows me. I'm starting with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Wow, unbelievable pick here. Oh my goodness. This is crazy.
I know, shocking everyone.
This is nuts.
I know. I believe. Let me check my.
I was so confident that we were all going to share number 10.
Oh,
The number
no.
10 is the easiest 10 I've ever had
It's
in
the
any event
easiest 10.
ever.
This was also my number 10 on my hype list, so I was correct on how I feel
Hey,
about that.
props to you on that.
Basically, I think we said this earlier in the year. There's no bad houses this year per se. I think they are all at least like good. You know, they might not be memorable. They might not be something that 10 years from now I will think about. But I felt like every house had its merits this year. However, for me, Five Nights at Freddy's, because it was majority puppets and so timing based, it has to be my number 10. I went through this house the least out of any of the houses, and I felt like every time I walked through, I either got a really good walkthrough where I saw all the puppets active, or I went through and saw nothing, where they just were shut down. I think the very first scene was awesome, but then that was the best part of the house, and everything else from there was downhill. The finale didn't really feel like a finale. It is what it is. I know there's plenty of people who absolutely love the franchise, and I'm glad it had all those people in line. Not in line for my houses, but Yeah, it's number 10 for me.
So does this mean,
then,
do the three of us have the same 10?
I sure hope so.
I bet you I know what it is.
So at number 10, I have Dolls.
There
Let's
it
Play
is.
Dead. So, again, like Liz said, every house was like semi-decent to an extent. But there's this. I think I was more disappointed this was not the house I was hoping and expecting it to be. And it turned into something totally off the wall. Like, I wanted creepy dolls and stuff everywhere, and this basically turned out to be like Chucky's playground with his toys and whatnot in this house, to me, honestly. I will say, though, in this house, I really enjoyed the toaster room. I thought that was a very, very cool touch. Like, when you walked in, it felt like, you were getting
Easy bake oven.
Yeah, you were getting toasted in there. It was pretty awesome, and had some cool, some good smells in there as well. But unfortunately, and nothing against the scare actors. Scare actors are always on point in doing their job. But this house was just not what I expected, unfortunately. But again, I've gone through some worse houses than this, but this is number 10 for this year.
Yep, I think all that makes sense. I believe it's my turn next in the rotation here. I have Dolls, Let's Play Dead at number 10. There's really nothing else I need to add to this. The one thing that I was going to add on to is Tim mentioned, like, not being what he expected. And I can't help but just, like, add a little blurb here about, like, I think all of us can relate to speculation season, and then even after that, when we literally have the houses in front of us, and you kind of make up what you are expecting out of something, maybe more so the originals, because the IPs you kind of know what to expect, but with the originals you read the little 3-sentence description, you look at the image art that they've got for the house, and you're like, okay, I got it. And it's a hard thing to get out of mid-season. Even if the house is good, it's very tough to be like, well, it's not what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting tidbit there. But yeah, I got Dolls at 10. I like parts of it. I had a good time. I think we've all touched so much on, like, there's no stinker house this year. Like, when you stack this up against some of what I would call bad houses from the 9 years that I've been going, like, this doesn't even touch the base. I think we were very lucky this year to have 10 very good houses, but somebody's got to be number 10. So, Ash, I would love to know what your number 10 is.
Yeah, let me just check my list real quick. Yeah, Dolls, Let's Play Dead.
I'm like, there's no way he's looking at this list going, what?
Hey, suspense for the audience. Yeah. I know that we said there's no bad houses, but this was an easy 10 for me, and I agree, it did have some qualities to it. I feel like there was some unique stuff in there. There was just not enough of it. I feel like all the scares, and I think everybody touched on this, the scares were almost like way over there, and there was just not enough scare actors. There were so many times where there was just no scare actors in there, empty boo holes everywhere. And again, I think I definitely agree with you guys. You have an image in your head of what you think the house is going to be, and you're almost like creepy dolls, right? Dollhouse of the Damned, that sort of style, but it almost went comical, and it just didn't hit for me. Very good year overall, and we're going to get to obviously all the houses, but this was an easy 10 for me.
I wanted to add too, because I'm shocked that I didn't think of it and none of you guys thought of it, but redeeming qualities of this house, the hula hoop scare actor, no matter which
there,
cast,
though. It's the only thing.
amazing. Well, when it was there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think it was there too often.
The electrocuted one was there often. That was pretty cool. And it's just never anybody there, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we'll go straight into my number 9 then, because there's a trend here.
I wonder
my
what it
number
is.
9 is Dolls. So we're on the same wavelength, and really the only reason why it went to 9 instead of 10 for me is because it is scare actor based rather than puppets. I gave dolls a step up just because, like, I know there's characters behind those puppets, but it's the same thing I felt about Quiet Place last year. I come to Halloween Horror Nights to see actors in those roles, not just to see like animatronics. So I gave it to dolls, but I feel the same way that you guys did. I think for this one, it struggles from comparison to previous houses because doll houses are kind of a popular trope that we see at Halloween Horror Nights, at other Halloween events. I have seen much better creepy doll houses than this one. And like you said, so many times I went through and there was just nobody there. It was just walking through and not getting scares. I agree that the Easy Bake Oven was probably my favorite scene. I love the little guest activated trigger that was right before that, where you got a little ding from hitting it. There were fun moments, and I like the idea that you are down to the size of the toys and Lila's giant face popping up from time to time. But yeah, it just did not. I knew it had to be 9 because I looked at my house runs, and this didn't even hit double digits for me. I went 19 nights, and it didn't even hit double digits. Most of the time I skipped it. So yeah, number 9, dolls.
This is where I piss off the other 2 hosts. My number 9 is Grave of Flesh.
Oh, no.
Get this guy off. Come on.
You didn't even go in the house that many times.
Oh, I did, though. I did. And I made sure the last night that I went through it first to make sure that it was still garbage.
How do I mute
garbage? You're calling it garbage?
I'm like, all right, I won't call it garbage.
You're not even calling dolls garbage at number 10.
Let me tell you, it was very, very close to Grave of Flesh being at number 10 and then dolls. This was back and forth, but I felt like dolls, I expected a lot more. I didn't really know what to expect with this. And running through this house, I just really didn't understand it. Maybe I didn't feel like this was a cohesive story. I felt like it was a mix mash of like other houses that we've seen already. And I know what you two are going to get at this, and I'm going to leave it for you two. But this house was just not for me. Something has to be at number 10. Something has to be at number 9. I'm sorry.
You should be. You really should be.
It's fine, Tim. It's fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
I
Liz.
don't accept your apology.
But
apology needed, Tim.
And this is not even the house I ran the least. We'll get to that soon. All right, Brady. I'm gonna pass it over. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm waiting for him to just like go off.
I'm trying to take a moment to compose myself. All right, number 9. I have Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay. Yep.
So I'll be quick on this. I actually really liked this house. Like, this is a lot to be said about this year. I'm telling you guys that I really, with a really in front of it, really liked my number 9 house, and I think that speaks volumes to HHN34. But scenic, beautiful. This reminded me so much of, let's say, Stranger Things Volume 1, The Shining, where it's pulling from content that is horror adjacent, but not necessarily apparently scary. Like, The Shining is more of a psychological movie. Stranger Things is spooky, but these are not necessarily, like, inherently scary properties. And for me, Five Nights at Freddy's was very much that. It's like, okay, we have these creepy giant animatronics, and how are they going to do it? And then they did it. They did it great. They replicated a bunch of the scenes from the movie in, like, such a perfect way. Like, I can remember opening night walking into the first room where you're in, like, the Freddy Fazbear's, like, entertainment room or whatever. And I was just like, wow, they really did that. Like, that's crazy. All the way down to the carpet and stuff. Like, it was nuts. But yeah, I mean, similar to what Liz said, you know, this one suffered a lot from timing because you will still get runs through any house with scare actors where timing suffers. But when you have these massive puppets and a lot of them have, like, a seemingly very set, like, I have to wait for this actual physical thing to reset, it was so tough to, like, time a good run through this. There was definitely a couple where you got most of it, but it felt like I always had to miss a little something, which again could be applied to literally any haunted house ever. You're never going to get every scare at once, but it suffered for me. And I think there is a disconnect with like the puppetry compared to a person, as Liz put. So,
All right, me and Brady are on the same page so far. I have Five Nights at Freddy's.
Did you guys write your list together?
I mean, they went together most nights, so they're
I
probably
know.
just like influencing each other.
No,
every
but
card Wednesday, we made a little note of which placement our houses were going on.
They were fun Wednesdays. I missed them, but yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. I think you guys hit it. We'll probably kind of touch on our closing remarks at the end and what we thought about the event briefly, but I think this just indicates a super impressive year overall when your number 9 is pretty good. You know, I think you talked about timing and the rooms basically having to reset, and if you miss it, it kind of stinks. But if you got a good run, super impressive, right? But again, they're all animatronics and puppets. But that first room, when you walk in and they're on the stage, and it feels like a kind of Chuck E. Cheese, vibe with the seats with the characters in there. Very, very impressive. What they could have done with this, it's the crowds were crazy, right? 180 minutes, 160 minutes at capacity sometimes. So I think it's a good gateway into Halloween Horror Nights. That it's almost like walking through a museum almost, where you could probably have this running through the day for fans in general. But yeah, I mean, something has to go at 9, like we always say, and this just fell there. Not Grave of Flesh, Tim. Sad.
Well, I've got that news for you.
Here comes Liz. Yes, Liz. Yes.
What a segue. I didn't even plan it either.
Not even planned.
I know, just naturally.
I don't
Number
believe
8 is going to be Grave of Flesh. So Tim and I, we're on the same wavelength here. We're just a little out of order.
The wrong wavelength.
Yeah, Grave of Flesh for me. Now, I did move up a spot. It had been number 9, and at the end, I debated on how I felt between Dolls and Grave, and I decided I had to give it to Grave.
Unbelievable that those two were in the same area.
Yes, we
in the
live
same
on the
sentence.
same page.
Yeah.
Same page.
I ultimately had to give it to Grave because I ran that house way more times. And yes, it did benefit from proximity of being right across from Terrifier. However, with the opportunity, I kept doing that house. Dolls plenty of times. I was just like, I'll just skip that one. So Grave of Flesh, I felt like I had such high hopes for it. I think it was my number 4 most hyped. And I love the opening scene. And I don't know what I had envisioned of what the house was going to be when we're talking about these flesh-eating things that are not like underground moles. I wasn't picturing that. I love that opening grave and looking up and seeing that. That's awesome. And then you're just stuck in tunnels for a long time. I know you guys had really good run-throughs of this house. I just never did. I just never had one of those runs that hit for me. I think the one night that Brady and I went was the best run through I had. So maybe Brady just had the luck.
remember you getting out of that going, okay, that was a good run.
That was better. Yeah. There was a guy in there. I don't know if it was a reserves or not, but he was really using his strobe and got me good. So I appreciated that. My favorite room was by far the alien room. No shock, it's me. But I loved that part. It had nothing to do with the rest of the house. I'm sure it's not supposed to be an alien, but to me, it will always be an alien. And then from then on, I have no idea what the story was. And I'm sure you guys can try to explain it to us. But this one was strange.
I'll try.
And yeah, just every time I walk through, I'm like, that's a house. That is a house.
Before you go, Tim, Liz,
Yeah.
you know what I always think about Grave of Flesh too? Is when me, you, and Ty were outside and it rained. It rained some rain.
It sure
We
did.
were beyond, so...
Yeah,
So
you
soaked.
Liz, you got some really bad rain nights, huh? Holy
Man.
cow.
2 in a row.
Ooh.
I thought I had the worst night of horror nights I'd ever had in the rain with Ash and Ty. And then about a week and a half later, I found out, nope, it can get even worse.
Hold my beer. All right. Well, at number 8, I have Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, see, Tim and I. Ooh.
Yeah. I agree with Brady. Like, this house was so cool looking. The fact that Jim Henson did all of like the animatronics, puppets, and everything that was involved that way, that was amazing. Ash said it earlier. When you walked into that first room where they were, playing in the band or whatever they were doing. And then that was just like kind of jaw dropping. The facade was fantastic. Brady said the carpet, like everything, like the details in that house, like this house looked awesome. End of story. But again, I'm in agreement with all of you about the timing. If you did not get this house in a perfect timing on every single animatronic puppet, it seemed like a really bad house. But with that said, I still think the way it looked made up for that, and that's why it's definitely above Grave of Flesh.
Brady's just nodding.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well. Yeah. Above Grave of Flesh, sure. Okay.
I'm sorry, Brady.
All right. Yeah, sure it is. My number 8, I believe Mr. Ash over there maybe has a hat on in regards to my number 8. And that is Fallout. Now, Fallout, it's only one above Five Nights at Freddy's. It's got a very similar tale that I could tell of. It does the not inherently horror IP done in a very cool way where you're just getting a cool walkthrough experience. That's what it comes down to for me. The leg up here for me is that there were a lot more scare actors, less puppets, and some very good scare actors at that. Like, there were definitely a few that every time I went in, I was like, I'm not going to get this one. They're not going to get me. And it was always the same scare that I'm like, yep, all right, cool. So, great house. Visuals were great. I forget. I only watched the show one time through, and I didn't care for it. Is it Philly that you go to?
Yes,
The
Philly.
Philly
Yes.
scene was awesome. That was so cool. I remember walking in there going, oh, that's awesome. I also talked to a few people this year. I can't remember. I think Ash may be one of them that didn't like the transition into Philly. But for me, it worked great because in the show, you see that one monker's projector system of like making it look real while you're in the vault, like, is broken. So it seemed like an abrupt change. And there is some validity to the fact that, like, it would have been nice to see us leaving the vault and going through a vault door. But the, like, ripped apart, broken projector, like, from the one vault in the show, it worked for me. So I enjoyed it. Another thing that isn't necessarily related to the content of the house, but just as a Horror Nights fan really worked for me, I loved that this one got like 2 or 3 changes mid-season. Like, there were a significant amount of like, we're going to tweak that. And for me, as someone that goes a bunch 20 times this year, like, I love seeing little things get kind of modified mid-season to kind of just work maybe the needs a little bit better and watch those growths happen.
All right. Yeah, with a heavy heart, I do have Work Damn You. I do have Fallout.
Me and Ash have the
Brady.
same list so far.
Same list so far.
This is unreal.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Over there.
Should
I
we
do
just
wanna
go to
give it-
one of you each time if this is going to be the same list for you guys?
I think once we get to like, let me look real quick. No, actually, I think at 7 he's going to disagree with me.
Yeah.
The next one will be.
I think he's going to get...
Okay. All right, go ahead, Ash. Sorry.
No, you're good. I could change my list because we're going in the same order every time, so I can change my list whenever I wanted to. But I'm not gonna.
You can just match me the whole episode.
Yeah, like if we snaked it, it might be different. Fallout. Let's give Fallout its flowers because it got so much better over the season. Just because there was extra scare actors in there, it felt like they were going a little harder. In my opinion, well, maybe White 6 was, but this was such a quotable house too. There were so many good quotes in there. Brady hit it. It's cool to see those little tweaks and changes because you walk through it, you've never seen this scare before. You kind of turn to your friend and say, yeah, look at that, It's a new scare we haven't seen before. So really cool. I do like the entrance song and the song you're leaving. I love the foreshadowing on your way to Vegas at the end. I thought that was pretty cool. Philly was great. Very Carnival Graveyard-esque, The transition was bad. That almost
Come on.
it was just a wall, wasn't it? I felt like leaving the vault, it was where like the kind of smoke was coming down, so it kind of indicated you were leaving the vault, but they could have done that a lot better, that transition, because it was just like a wall almost. I thought they could have done a lot better, that transition. I'm a big Fallout fan, so to have that this low is a little disappointing, but it's a tough year. It was tough to rank. But yeah, Fallout ultimately my number 8.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And I'm not gonna rock the boat too much. Then we're gonna start round 7, and I have Fallout. as number 7. So, yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I think I had it pretty high on my hype because I do love the show, and I really got into the game after watching the show, just prepping for Horror Nights. So I got into the lore. I don't think it delivered quite what I wanted, and I think this one suffered the opposite of what we had with The Last of Us. So The Last of Us had too many enemies and not enough of Joel and the character stories. This, I feel like, was the opposite. We had all the good guys and not enough bad guys, not enough scary people, which I know they edited it as the season went on. They broke the glass so the zombies could come after you or the mutants could come after you. They added some mutants here and there to make it a little more of a threat. But those first run-throughs, it was like, okay, well, these are all good guys. And technically, I know the ghoul isn't supposed to be a good guy, but he's kind of a good guy, you know? So the threat wasn't there. And I think they improved it. But I just don't think the show has so many amazing visuals. And what I was thinking as I was watching the show was like, oh man, can't wait to see how they do that. Can't wait to see how they do that. And it felt like for such a large tent, it felt like we were in one of the old tents, that it was very, maybe they were trying to make it claustrophobic, but it didn't live up to the potential of that space. So yeah, it stays at number 7 for me with a heavy heart.
Well then, let me just continue the ride. Fallout at number 7.
Wow, look at us.
So this, oh man, I think my biggest issue with this house is kind of what Liz just hit on, is that there was only the ghoul in that house 3 times. I don't think there was any more than 3 on a run that I did. And honestly, most of the runs, it was only 2 that I got. So the ghoul is one of the main characters in the show, in the game. So why was he only in there that little? That's my only beef, like big beef with the house. Loved how it progressed and they changed throughout the season. I love the changes. I love the little Easter eggs to the game. Ash knows everything. What is it? The little Pit Boy? What do you call that thing? Pit Boy.
Pit Boy?
Yep.
But there was a TV screen when you walked in, and it kind of reminded me of, like, you know, going into the game and looking at my inventory and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. I love the nod to New Vegas. That was awesome as well. I think it was a decent house, but I think I expected more out of this as well, considering that I really loved the show. I think the show is fantastic. I didn't like the first couple games, and then, you know, had some people really get on me about it, like, hey, make sure you play, you know, the 3rd and the 4th one, which is New Vegas. Yeah, the 4th one, and that's the one that I played, and I was like, okay, I get it now, because this was a much better game for me to play. So yeah, not a terrible house, but I just wish it had more for me for Fallout. That's all.
Yeah.
Completely fair. We're on 7, yes?
Correct.
I think me and Ash are finally going to change. Ash, dude, if you have this at 7, I know you're a liar, and so does Liz. So we got to switch it up. They're on to us a little bit here. And number 7, I don't know. Maybe it is a 7. I have Jason Universe. Oh, okay. He's making a face.
No way.
I got Jason Universe here at number 7.
I'm surprised.
Jason Universe is a very middle of the pack house for me this year. It had a lot I loved about it, and it doesn't belong in, like, the lower portion, but doesn't compete with the big dogs that I have in, like, top 5, let's say. You know, like, I think 7 and 6 were pretty interchangeable for me. I just had to decide finally, but some things I wanted to touch on, Jason. The back half of the house is awesome. I don't care how repetitive it was, that there was, I keep forgetting, it's 3 or 4. I think it was 3 rooms that are basically the same thing when you're going through that hallway, just different versions of Jason on your left and right. I don't care how many times I did it, knowing that I didn't even have to make a turn, because sometimes they use that a lot. You got to make a turn and then they get you because you're, like, in the process of moving. I'm walking in a straight line and they're still getting me every run. Doesn't matter. Loved it. That was amazing. I love seeing the car outside with Jason's mom. Like, that was awesome too. The cabin in the middle portion of the first half, another great highlight. There was just something, and I can't put my finger on it, that just kind of dropped it from the others. It was missing something, and I don't know what it is. Some X factor, if you will. That
Jason X.
Well, that wasn't on purpose, but I'll take it. But yeah, I had a good time. I love that the back half was like a truly like scary Horror Nights house, but there we are.
All right. I think Jason wasn't out of the realms of possibility because it was like my number 9 or 10 for weeks and weeks.
Yeah. Incorrectly.
So when you said Jason, I thought, oh my god, we're gonna have the same house. Anyway, on 7, I have El Artista, A Spanish Haunting.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on.
You have what?
Hold on. I need a moment.
El Artista.
I need a moment. Hold on.
Ash.
So let me explain. And again, just my opinion, I think so many of us are being catfished by just how spectacular that facade is. No scares whatsoever in the house. There's such good effects. Really good effects in there, really good facade, but again, like we were just being catfished that it's a good house. It's not a good house. No, let me rephrase that. I enjoyed it, but it was just beautiful and spectacular, and that's about it. You know, if you can relay to me like a scare, and it wasn't the scare actors because they were sort of inhibited by certain things, you know, but if you can reel off to me now some scares that you got in that house, I'll happily listen to it because there was just not in there.
We'll
be happy to tell you,
there.
yeah.
Also, Ash just like tanked his credibility with everyone listening to this podcast right now.
Well,
maybe not.
No,
maybe not.
maybe.
Some people are gonna be like, Ash gets
Maybe
it.
not.
Oh, come on.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I lost my train of thought a little bit. I don't want to speak too much. I enjoyed the house. I don't want it to make it seem like I didn't enjoy the house because I did, but it was more of a scenic walkthrough rather than a scary house for me. It just wasn't scary. Nothing going on. But yeah, El Artista. I did have it at 8, by the way, but I moved it to 7. Just wasn't good.
I'm not sure I can talk. I'm not sure I'm not ready. I haven't recovered. That it might be the most brutal reveal I've had. The only other one I can think of was me having Exorcist as low as I did, with you guys having it like number 1 that year. I think that's the only other time.
That was crazy.
Which you're still wrong about, by the way.
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
still wrong. I bet
just-
you a lot of people have El Artista low just for that reason of it just being spectacular, but
you're the first
nothing
person
really
I've
happens.
seen even have El Artista below a top 5.
Well,
Tim might be joining you, but you would be the first 2. Yeah. Well, now that that's happened, let me compose myself. I'm going to say, before I start number 6, that I feel like I have my bottom 4 and then I have a top 6, if that makes sense. So these next 6, I feel like are a different class, a different zone than my bottom 4. And I struggled with probably the next 3 kind of figuring out where to put them. But my number 6 is going to be Gulkin. And that is not where it started.
We're gonna
the event.
fight.
I know. That is not where it started the event, but that is where it kind of ended. I felt like as the season went on, it kind of lost intensity for me. Beginning, I think I had it like my number 3. Like, it had a great first impression. I love the scenic of it. I love the way that you can kind of get a glimpse of future scenes. I love when they do that before you're in them. I feel like it had some really good scares at the beginning and probably the best finale of a house this year. I love the giant Gulkin puppet at the end and that final room. Probably the first month, they were wrecking people in that first room. The second month, I think they probably were told not to do as much because they kind of backed off. And unfortunately, that's just happens with the event. The busier it gets, sometimes those really good scares get pulled back to get the lines moving. So I think some of that all combined to drop it lower for me. But I still really enjoyed this house. Love the storytelling. Love the costumes. I had other ones that I fell in love with more.
That's crazy where you have it.
Well, we're about to fight either way, so.
I mean, yeah, because I have El Artista at number 6. So this is a absolutely gorgeous house. Hands down, right? This goes along with like Blood Moon, Dead Man, that kind of style of house. I'm with Ash. I don't think this was like hardly scares in this house. I just I don't know. It started out really high for me, and then it got lower and lower as more runs I did. So I apologize for you guys, because I know obviously Brady and Liz are going to have this higher than me and Ash. But maybe Ash has something. Maybe we did get duped. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Or catfished, as he said. I won't go that far. I enjoyed the gargoyle going back and forth on the bungee or whatever that is, back and forth to different scenes, which was kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, very beautiful house, but just not the scares that I was hoping for in this house.
I feel like maybe I was getting all of the Artista scares while Ash and Brady were getting all the Grave of Flesh scares, and we just never timed it right,
That could be very well.
I got a little blend of both.
So
I did Artista. I can check after. Probably close to 20 times, and decent run throughs, but just no scares.
I'll agree that it was inconsistent. I will give you that.
Okay,
I would agree too.
that's fair.
I just think, right, if it wouldn't have had that facade,
Oh yeah, that was.
then we wouldn't be talking about it anyway.
I disagree, because after the facade, there was like 4 other amazing facades.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But I will give you the fact that it was inconsistent, so I will let you have that.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the house. Don't get me wrong. I'm with Liz though. I kind of like. I'm with you with like I knew what my bottom 4 was, but then I knew like I just didn't know how I was going to order the other 6. That's all. And obviously something's that like the house has got to go somewhere, and it's not my number 1. If I don't know if Liz and Brady got this at number 1. I'm like, now I'm really curious, but I have it at number 6.
Oh, at my number 6, it's already been talked about. We have Galkin, Monsters of the North.
Hey, Brady.
You guys are all high.
Disagree. So I think Galkin was about middle for my hype list. It was like, had stuff that I was like, ooh, I like the sound of that, but also kind of that talk earlier of like, I don't fully know what to expect. It met somewhere in the middle. Obviously, it's at number 6, so it's almost a direct middle point here. I also agree with what Liz said. This is a house that I feel like did the opposite of some things in the year where it gets better. This one kind of fell off a little bit for me. I felt like opening weekend, once you went into the monster and like the red, like stringy, like guts, like those guys, like just unbelievable scares, like for the first 3-4 weeks. And then I wasn't getting it as much. I haven't done as many episodes with these guys as they have with each other. Something you'll get to know about me is that I love scenic houses. And so that's always going to have a big hit for me. And there's a lot in this house to love. Like the big like Wicker Man like statue in the middle. The fact that it's on fire. The fact that you get kind of that like Blood Moon thing from a few years ago where you can see rooms from other rooms. Like you could see the Wicker Man at one point in a couple rooms. Like that's awesome, right? That's so cool. I also loved the first room. The first room is incredible, where you see like you're almost in like a cave before you go into like the woods of the north or whatever. Loved all of that, but ultimately it just felt like it didn't go anywhere all season for me, and it just kind of stayed a steadily kind of like good house.
Yeah, we're back on track, Brady. I do have Galkin.
Look at that. 3 of us with the same number 6.
Yeah. Just to put it in some context, I had Galkin at 10 before the event. I can remember opening night, I got a text from Liz saying, you're going to be eating your words about Galkin. And I think for the opening couple of weeks, it was probably around my top 3-4-ish.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. It ran out of steam. Very, very cool house. It had that kind of forced perspective for different scenes, like you mentioned, Brady. We can see the Wicker Man, and it almost that culty vibes of Blood Moon 2. It's just that sort of 3/4 of it almost ran out of steam, and then you get the finale. That once you've had that initial finale for the first time, I'm not saying it almost like wears out. It doesn't, because it's spectacular, but the best part of the house is almost like you've seen it now, right? So yeah, he just ran out a bit of a steam for me. Is the best way I can put it. Sorry, Tim, if you have it nice and high up there.
I think it's going to be high for Tim.
Tim is upset.
I am upset. It's okay, though. It's okay. It's okay.
All right, that means we've made it to the top 5. We are halfway through. So my number 5 is going to be Jason. I enjoy this house way more than I was expecting to. And I had to do a little convincing of Ash that it wasn't number 10, because I thought he was absolutely bonkers for that for a while. But I think this year, this was the scariest house for me. This was the house I was most likely to get scares. And partially just because they're big dudes and they're aggressive. There was one cast that was really aggressive. Both were, but the one cast was just on another level. And I love that feeling of actually going through, like, that's why we liked Insidious so much last year. The little bit of nerves before I go into a house, thinking, ooh, I might actually get scared in here. That I love. As a vet who has been going, I think this is my 22nd Halloween Horror Nights, I love just getting that little bit of nerves. And this house gave it to me, especially those first few times going through the gauntlet of Jasons. When they really had the fog pouring out, they kind of lessened that as the season went on, probably because too many people were just stopping. But those first few runs with that blast of fog and not being able to see where the Jasons were and being claustrophobic in that hallway, I thought it was super effective. I don't care that there were 45 Jasons all popping out and seeing 5 Jasons in a scene together. I don't care. It was a blast. I loved it. I loved the Pam in the middle with the car. I loved getting to like deliver that line with her at the end. And this is probably the house I saw people get wrecked in the most. So it was not just me, but watching the people ahead of me get scared, hearing the screams. It was a good time every single time.
And I too have Jason Universe at number 5.
There you go.
Yeah, and this honestly, I think I had this very low, I think, on my hype list, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a tale of two houses to me. So the first half is just okay to me. Nothing crazy, nothing like super exciting that I'm like, oh yeah, that was fantastic. It's also the same Jason in the first half of the house. Then you got outside to where his mom was, the car, the cabin, and this is where the house gets bonkers, in my opinion. And I loved once you walked into the cabin, they had the big Jason mask that you actually walked through, but it was cut out and all mangled, so it looked awesome. But yeah, what was it, Brady? 3 rooms? 3 rooms. Like,
I think it was 3.
I think so too. But relentless every single time in that back half of the house. Relentless. I don't care what Jason it is either as well. They're just wrecking me left and right. And yes, I do remember it being more foggy in the beginning as opposed to towards the end, which is kind of a bummer because I think it made it that much more intense.
It sure did.
For this house, and this probably to me was probably the scariest house of the year, in my opinion. If you guys have, a different opinion, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but solid house, and for me, this is the first time I got to really witness and have a Jason house. So yeah, very good house. It's in that's why it's in my top 5.
Also, I feel like we haven't touched on it, but I feel like that was, in my opinion, the best house that's been in the Fast and Furious queue. I feel like
100%.
100%, yeah. Like hands down.
Last year was different. Last year was different.
Sweets.
Sweets
I did
was
like
different
Sweets
though, because it was a different setup. They did the long
Different
tent.
layout.
Right.
As far as this Chucky or Black Phone Freaky combo, I think this is the best setup of those 3 where they use where they have to split.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
this is by far the most effective.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I do agree because I know you guys said you wanted to hear, I agree that this is the scariest house this year. I think that that's a fair take. I think even end of season when the fog was let up, depending on just like when the lights were going off with timing, like there were times I walked through that last bit of the house like I can't see anything, so I'm gonna just hope for the best. I guess this brings me to 5. And I don't know, I could see this maybe being an uproar for Liz, I'm not sure, but I have Hatchet and Chains at number 5. I can't put my finger on what this was missing for me, but it was always one of those houses where I got out and I said, that was really fun, but there's other things above it. And it may not be that something was missing, it just may be that my other 4 I liked much more, but yeah, I love the Western theme. The Western thing was awesome. That is such a cool theme for Horror Nights that I think we need to tap into a little bit more. As far as my memory goes, I think since 2016, the only real like anything even in that realm that I've seen was Lightning Gulch, Ghost Town, and then obviously The Room, Hatchet and Chains, and Slaughter Cinema. But yeah, I think Western is a very cool like spooky lending theme for Horror Nights, so that was a big hit with me. Props to the Skeleton Sheriff. Didn't matter what day of the week, what cast, doesn't matter if I knew he was coming and I was looking on my right to make sure I saw it. There was one night where I got so far ahead that I was like, okay, I made it past that point, and then he just went so far out of his boo hole and still got me. Just unbelievable effort from those scare actors on the Skeleton Sheriff. Yeah,
MVP this year.
Without a doubt. I also really loved the role where they just had the hand through the skeleton, but then they could come out on the other side in like the hanging room and get you. That one was always good because you're like, okay, it's just a hand. Like the trigger scared me, but nothing actually like scared me. And then they would always get you. So again, Western really worked for me. There's just 4 things higher.
Fair.
All right, number 5, Jason Universe. Kind of the opposite to what Gulkin had. Gulkin started pretty high and then dipped, whereas Jason started really low and then made its way up the list. I think my sentiments about this house still are valid for me. I just wish 80% of the maze was a little bit better. I just felt it was very samey going through everything. For the most part of the first maybe month and a half, and this is just me, I felt like the scares weren't really there. It was almost like they'd come out of the boo hole, not really approach you too much, and they kind of go back in. They never really got in my face or anything like that. The gauntlet at the end, great. You know, Jason after Jason going through those rooms is awesome. When the fog was there, even better. I know people don't like strobes, but if they use the strobes well, it would have just been terrifying, I feel. But yeah, just the majority of the first part of it, it did get better. I felt like a lot of the Jasons in my later October runs came really out into the section and got in your face a lot more. I don't know if that was maybe a critique that people had, that they just didn't do anything, that maybe they ramped it up a little bit. But definitely a climb, and I'm happy with it at number 5.
Yeah, I wonder if some of it is just like building their confidence as the season goes on of like what they can do, because I do think that they got more and more aggressive in that house.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that brings me to my number 4, which is going to be Hatchet and Chains. So not far off, Brady. See, I wasn't too mad.
Okay, I'm a little surprised. Yeah, I thought this would have maybe been higher for you.
I do love the scenic of this one. I think the Western theme, like you said, so underutilized at Halloween Horror Nights, and I think it can lend itself so well. I loved picking this scene from Slaughter Cinema because I was one of the few that actually really loved that part of Slaughter Cinema too. That was my favorite part. So I was really excited to see it get a whole house. I think it could have had some moments, just some like larger scenes, I think could have raised it higher up my list. But that train scene, the first time I walked through and saw the train depot with the train rushing by and the wind, that I loved. I thought, every once in a while there's something that Halloween Horror Nights does that's new that we haven't seen before, and it blows my mind a little bit. And that was one of those moments. That opening weekend, I was just like, oh, that was cool. They've never done that before. That's cool. Obviously, Skeleton Sheriff MVP of the year. I had almost the exact same moment that you did, where there was one point I walked and I was so far through the scene that I looked back to see, like, is he not here? And he was ducked away hiding, turned because I thought I was safe, and all of a sudden there's a hand in my face. Like, so good. Just so good. I think this was a very quotable house. Like the give me your flesh, there's just so many good quotes and moments in this house that I think I will still talk about this one and think about this one for years to come. There's just 3 that stole my heart a little bit more.
I can't believe that I forgot to mention the train. The train, what a great scenic thing. Yeah.
So good.
So I haven't mentioned Hatchet and Chains yet. Sorry, I haven't mentioned it yet, so it's obviously coming at some point in the top 4. I didn't like the train bit. I felt it was almost like blurry and not well done. I thought if they would have put an actual...
It was passing by.
No, I know that.
You want it to stand still for you, Ash?
I don't know what I wanted from it. I think it was a cool touch. I just didn't get it.
With the moving and the air blasting you and you're going, I loved it.
I'm in a minority, clearly, but I don't know.
Nobody mentioned the lava floors either, including myself.
Yes, the lava
Another
floors.
Amazing touch.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, let me jump in because I have Hatchet and Chains at number 4 as well.
Go ahead.
I was gonna mention the lava floor, but now you just mentioned it.
Let's all talk about Hatchet and Chains.
Oh my god! Yeah, I think this was I thought this was a solid house. Great scares. I love. I think it was toward the beginning of the house where the one is like pushing or on the chain into the fireplace at you, but then on the other side, it's a totally different scene with that same thing.
And he's getting attacked.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I also have in my notes that, and I don't know why, but it's such a little minute detail, but I thought it was fantastic. All the bullet holes with the smoke and the light.
Yes.
Fantastic in this house. Like, I kept, every time I went through, I was like, I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I'm with you. I thought the train scene was great. I don't know what Ash is talking about here. I think Ash maybe wanted to have the train stop so he can get on it or something. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
One-way ticket to Nightmare Fuel.
But again, this maybe could have been a little bit higher, but I have 3 more that I like better. But this I thought this was a really, really good and fun, solid house.
Yeah.
I think something really important before I get to my number 4 that we all kind of sparked, and once we kind of remembered some more stuff, like, I think this house really stands out, and not just for the year, but maybe for the last few years in terms of effects specifically.
Yeah.
I think this house was really cool with some of the effects in it. My number 4, Grave of Flesh. I got it up there, top 5.
Man, I thought this was
going to
be. I thought it was going to be higher for you.
It's a hot take.
Number 4. It's number 4. It's not a hot take. It's a great take.
It's a hot take.
It's a great take. Anybody that wants to talk about this, my DMs are open. Grave of Flesh. What's not to like? Beautiful facade. Beautiful facade. Great smells of the facade. You had that, like, Phantom of the Opera Monsters room, like, rose smell. Amazing. As soon as you're past that, you get the classic, like, Walking Dead, Seeds of Extinction, like, earthy smell that they always use. Immediately, sensory, I'm great. I'm having a good time. We're 1 room into the house.
And
rain dripping from the grave. That's so cool. It looks like you're being put in the grave. Amazing effect. And then we get into just the most outlandish, crazy concept they've had in a long time. And I'm going to just go ahead and say it up front. I understand what people may not like about this. I don't want to, like, come in here and be like, everything in that house made sense to me. I don't understand some of it with it being at my number 4, but it worked for me. It just did something. You're going through, you're like, you've just been buried. Then you get to a point where, okay, there's bodies that are turning into, like, harvested bodies somewhere in the ground here. And then you're like, oh, look, this alien thing is the one harvesting these bodies in the cemetery. That's cool, Mr. Alien Man. And then you get into this strange sci-fi part where there's, like, mirrors on the walls and staircases that go to infinity, and I was just like, this is working. I don't know why. And it's weird because I think that like people that are really into sci-fi would like this, which Liz is a prime example, and it didn't hit for her.
No.
And I would say that sci-fi is not necessarily like my primary realm of like horror adjacent things that I'm into, but for some reason this house just really did it for me.
You know, the scariest part of the house was the little girl that popped up and said, "You'll never leave."
Yes.
You're like, no,
Also
please get me out of this house.
The room with all the intestines and like the black light, every time I went in there I watched people get wrecked.
That I will say. That
And
was
I think
an effective room.
most importantly, the end with the two guys that had two boo holes each with mirrors, so you couldn't really tell which one they were in. Amazing. Similar to the end of Gulkin, just people getting wrecked by these two scare actors.
All right, Grave of Flesh is my number 4. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Let's just start off with the facade. Amazing facade. Come on. And like Brady said, you get that nice smell around that very, very darker steel, earthy smell with a lot of the scares reminded me like the last third of Wicked Growth. I'm not putting it up there with Wicked Growth. I'm just talking almost like, how can I put it?
I see where you're going.
Almost like do you know what I mean? Where the boo holes are?
Yes.
Almost like underground, if you will. Yeah, reminded me of that, and we got like the darker steel sort of vibes going on and smells. Same as Brady. I have no clue what was going on half the time in there.
I love this.
Yeah,
it's our number 4. Everyone's complaining that it doesn't make sense, and then the two guys with it at number 4 are like, "Yeah, it didn't make sense."
We love it anyway.
It was. I just like your descent into like the afterlife, where Brady said, you know, you have those almost like cocoons, right? And then you kind of get deeper and deeper, and it gets a little sci-fi. There's one critique I have, you know, the almost corner you turn around when you go, you know, that green and purple pillars that were lit up.
Yep.
And that whole sort of, you know, U-bend there into it. There was no scare actors there. I thought because there was strobes there too.
Right before you see the little girl, where there's just nothing happening.
There was nothing there. I felt they could have, if they had a few in there, like maybe 3 or 4 in there. The ending was good. They had 360 scares in there, mirror scares in there too. And like you said, when you go to like the alien overlord with mirrors everywhere, very Hellraiser. You know, we have such sights to show you. So yeah, it was wacky and it just worked for me, and I had a lot of good runs in it.
I absolutely love that me and Ash are coming up here with it in our top 5, and our reasoning is very much just like, I don't know, it worked.
That's all you need sometimes,
like
you know?
the flesh puppies.
Yep.
Well, I will try not to judge you guys too harshly. I mean, I knew this already, so this was not a shock to me. I kind of knew you guys were singing the gospel of Grave, and I tried to give it more of a chance, but you know, it just never happened for me.
I think I'm also a sucker for anything graveyard related at all. So even though like it's just that first part, if you put me in a situation where I'm supposed to be like dying, or like we're in a cemetery, or like experiencing death in like a way where it's being visualized, I just think that's super cool.
I love the trigger too, the Dead Seem Restless Tonight. It's just a very quotable.
That is trigger. One of my favorite quotes of this year.
Well, I guess I will move us on past Grave into
top
my
3 now.
Number
Thank
3.
God.
This is the top 3. This is the big boys. This one, a certain someone listening is going to get mad at me for the placement of this, but I think they will be happy that it ended up at number 3, which is going to be WWE, the Wyatt 6. Who would have thought that would have been one of my top 3 houses? I mean, I had it kind of in the top of my anticipation just because I thought it was going to be something different. But I definitely didn't expect to connect with this house as much as I did, as someone that does not watch wrestling, did not know any of the lore up until this got announced, and I did my Halloween Horror Nights homework. But I did watch that documentary on Bray Wyatt, and just the story behind it really drew me in. And this house, I feel like the casts were so invested in the story that they were, and not just the story, but the legacy, that they really wanted to do this house justice. So the casts were bringing it. The scares were there. The intensity was there. I felt like The music in this house, just there were so many times I was just walking through jamming to the music because it was so good. I take it back. I said Gulkin had the best finale. I think this house had the best finale. When you turn that corner and saw everybody on the stages and just the intensity of the finale, I think this one took it for me. And obviously, I have a personal love of the TV room, and specifically the fiend that's in the TV room. Absolutely loved my Cast B WWE shout out. This is the house that I ran the most. This is also the house that happened to be one of the easiest ones to run multiple times at the end of the night. So I really enjoyed the interactions. And another shout out to the Huskus in the cage on Cast B, because man, he was killing it every single time. So yeah, I'm shocked. I love this one as much as I did, but this is another one that will have a special place in my heart for years to come.
Excellent. I do not have the horrors of the Wide Six at number 3. I'm sorry, Liz. I thought maybe we were going to have the same list, or pretty close. All right, so I have Terrifier at number 3. This, oh man. Whew. So this is we're going to compare this to House of a Thousand Corpses, because a lot of people do not like that movie, but thought the house was fantastic. So I'm in this boat. I'm not a huge fan of the movies. 2 was definitely a lot better than number 1, and I still have not watched 3 yet, so don't come after me for that yet. I will watch it though, because it's now streaming, so I can watch that and get into it. But man, did I love this house. I think Art is a fantastic character. I think the different arts and every single person that wasn't Art, no matter if it was in the house or outside, when he was riding his little tricycle or dressed as Santa out there, the interactions outside were fantastic. But I think maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. But this house was awesome. It just fantastic. And again, I'm not a fan of the movies, and I thought it was going to be kind of similar, but I feel like this is just going to be a fantastic house. I love the runs. Everything is great. All the art's super, super on point. I love that we got the ending where it's, you want to go to the dry side, you want to go to the wet side. The wet side could honestly be a little bit crazy at times if you're trying to dodge it. I felt like maybe in the beginning you could kind of weave your way in it, but I feel like they kind of fixed that towards,
It was a gamble.
Yeah. I also enjoyed that Art was in the middle up top before you chose a path, because I'll never forget when I decided to take the dry path. And the only reason I took the dry path once is because I just wanted to see it. Art was making fun of me, telling me to go back into the wet side. He was just making his faces and all this kind of stuff. So it was just a lot of fun. Super, super awesome house. Good scares. Great scenes from the movies, right? And who didn't want to sing the song when you're going through the little arts cafe or clown cafe? Sorry, this is Arts Cafe. And I love that Art was in the cafe popping out of the window, just super fantastic. This could have gone a little bit higher, I think, but again, I think I have 2 other houses that I like more. So
I think you had a lot of really good things to say about Terrifier, but I'll get there, because my number 3 is not Terrifier. It's WWE.
Ooh.
Horrors of the Wyatt Six.
I think Brady and I might have the same top 3. We'll see.
I have a feeling we do. What hasn't been said about WWE by Liz? I think one thing that I wanted to say, I just didn't want to cut people off because we were getting to different houses and we were switching gears to Terrifier. I think something that obviously just, if you're listening by process of elimination, WWE is in all of our top 3. That's not some secret here if you've watched this far. I think there is something so cool to be said about the fact that a WWE wrestling house made it to the top 3 of 4 Horror Nights Fanatics lists. I think that just screams success of taking a property and making it work. To add to what Liz said, it felt like, I don't even know how, but it felt like every single actor in this house had a personal vendetta to make sure that they carried on this legacy that, like, when Bray was still here, he had always wanted a Horror Nights house. Like, it felt like everybody involved in this house, even the, like, ops people, it felt like there was this, like, sensation that you could feel in the air of people wanting to make this house be what it was. And I just think that it did exactly that. And this is coming from someone that doesn't watch wrestling, doesn't know anything about it, had to ask Ash to teach me everything leading up to Horror Nights, and even still, to not be like someone that's into it, it landed at number 3 on my list of Halloween Horror Nights houses when it is a wrestling theme. So incredible. TV room stands out, just always, no matter the cast, no matter the run, going crazy in the TV room. I also loved the buzzard room, I guess, where there's like the chain link fence and stuff. I loved that scene. That was a really cool area. I didn't notice that body by the trash can like moved until like probably week 4, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I also loved the room where you go into like the hut, I guess, and like it had that effect where depending on what scene mode it was like going through, you could like see the eyes behind the wall. So that was another cool use of just like a neat effect. But nothing else that hasn't been said about just like the legacy and sort of like the shared passion amongst everybody for this, whether or not it was their thing.
Yeah, passion project for sure for everyone, I think.
Yeah. Number 3 for me is Hatchet and Chains. Yeah, really, really enjoyed this house. I'm a big Ghost Town fan, so yeah, just a Western theme. I loved the scare actors in here. You've already talked about one in particular who got you every single time. I want to give a little shout out to my girl, Granny Haggerty, outside. She never stopped. She was great. She was always bringing the stampede. So yeah, and I think in like maybe all of October, actually, the runs were just always good. Scare acts were always on point. A lot of scares. I felt like we mentioned, a lot of quotable lines. The scenic was really, really good. Maybe you convinced me about the train. I'm not sure, but I thought I thought it could have been done better. I don't know. Tim, I think you mentioned the bullet holes in the wall with like the smoke coming out of it. Super cool. I love that too. But yeah, all in all, super impressed with this house. I think it was like middle of the pack, pre-hype, but I'm happy with it rounding out my top 3. My 1 and 2, I loved.
Yeah, solid top 5s from all of us here. Well, yeah, a little bit of judgment for Grave, but it's okay.
You're letting me and Ash have solid top 5s? We're included in that?
I guess.
I don't know. Some of you seem like you've got one house in there that I was pretty critical.
Well, yeah, never mind, Ash is out.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is, I feel like a shocker for me, being me, Miss Originals Queen, that I have an IP yet again this high in my list. Because last year Insidious was number 1, What Happened? And now this year I've got Terrifier at number 2. Who am I? Do I need to question my identity? Do I need to give up my Originals card? I don't know. But I love this house. And I've only seen the first movie. We watched it, Ash, Tim, and I did not get through the second or third. It was on my homework list, and I just couldn't make myself do it. And I don't feel like it mattered. I got the gist. I understood who Art was, and I had a blast every single time walking through this house. It's the most gory house this year, but yet it was the one I laughed and just smiled through the entire time. All of the art interactions were absolutely fantastic. I love the mirror gag where you come down the hallway, he's holding the sign, and then he pops out at you. I loved that. The interactions there were golden every single time. The Clown Cafe, we always went through dancing, and that art would dance with us. I thought every single one with the glasses, they were very close to you, so they would interact. The Christmas room was a blast. The only room I didn't like was the toilet room, and I ran through that as fast as I could. But otherwise, I thought the finale, getting to choose the bloodbath or the dry side, I typically chose whether or not it was raining. If it was raining, which happened to me a lot, I went on the bloodbath side because what's it matter? I'm already soaked. And then the other nights I went to the dry side. Both enjoyable. I thought it was so well done. And I think this one deserves all the accolades it's been getting. It was just an absolute blast.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I have the horrors of the Wyatt Six at number 2, and I am actually kind of shocked looking at that myself. Again, not a wrestling fan per se. Like, I used to watch it way back in the day, but I have not watched it, recently. Man, what a fantastic house. Just the stories, the characters. I mean, what a fun house, and some really good scares in there too. Man, that Captain Howdy, or was it Captain Howdy? Is that his name?
Howdy.
Uncle Howdy. Sorry. See this. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not a wrestling.
Captain Howdy.
I'm not a wrestling.
Captain Howdy.
Sorry. I just killed Ash. Ash is dead. Man, that guy is scary as hell. He's huge. But I love the facade, like when you first walked in and he would blow the lamp out at you. Fantastic. I'm not really sure what happened to the girl, though. The girl went missing.
It was only an opening weekend thing because they're making me laugh. They
Ash, cut it out.
They didn't have the mannequin in yet, or the costume of the mannequin, so they took the girl from the house and put her out there, which I was sad about because I loved having both of them in the opening scene.
That was so cool. So
limited
cool.
time magic.
But nothing that you guys haven't said already. Like, such a passion project, especially for Mike and Ramon. Right? I'm pretty sure that these two were just like, we need to nail this, make it the best. Agreed with what Ash said. Also, like, or maybe it was Brady, saying that like all the scare actors knew how important this house was per se, and making sure that they were on point every night. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. And like the tribute to Bray throughout the whole house, and then especially at the end with the rocking chair, and the lantern, just super, super, super awesome. I never thought in a million years I'd have a wrestling house at Halloween Horror Nights, yet alone have it in my top 3, which is actually number 2. So my top 2 on my final ranking list. So that tells you a lot, especially for not being a wrestling fan. But Liz, like you, I watched the biography, the biography or the documentary or whatever it was. Fantastic. Just to get that, behind the scenes and, more story to it. What me and Ash put together, a while back. I mean, Ash really put it together. I just voiced over. But to read all the notes through that really helped me to understand this house so much more. And I think that's why I loved it so much.
Well, but also, I'm really proud of you and Liz for having dialogue there. I was composing myself, and then every time I did, I looked in the corner and saw Ash crying, and then I saw him notice me laughing, and then he started covering his face and crying again.
I am so getting buried by so many people by just calling him that. So I apologize.
That was an all-time moment.
I
was crying.
Before you continue on, Brady, I want to say it's also so cool that so many of the Wyatt Six were able to come to the event and see the house and experience it themselves. And how cool for those casts to get to experience that too. Like, special.
And how cool that Alexa Bliss actually came in and actually worked as herself in the house. I wish I had got to see that. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. That was a cool note. And it wasn't just Wyatt Six people too. Like, I saw multiple just famous wrestlers were like, I gotta go see this. And that says a lot. Well, number 2 for me, I've got Terrifier. Yeah. There we go. Me and Liz are dialed in now. Okay. So I've got Terrifier at number 2. Tim hit it on the head with House of a Thousand Corpses. Very similar leading up into it in the sense that, like, I do not like House of a Thousand Corpses as a movie. I did not like Terrifier as a movie. It just wasn't my thing. But going into it, I think I had a sort of feeling of like, I think this will lend itself well to a haunted house, which it did. It was great. I will say that, like, I think going into it opening weekend with all of the things that people had said during employee previews and premium scare night, and like even coming from like Michael Aiello at the convention in California, like 2 weeks before opening night, all of the stuff of like, this is the most this, the most that, the biggest this, the wettest that, the bloodiest this. I think going into it opening weekend, I was a little like, okay, it was cool. It got a little blown out of proportion for me, which is I think the one negative I could say about this house, that like, it's not really the house's fault in this case. But yeah, man, just so cool. There was a sort of, I was curious to see how they would translate, and I'm sure you guys agree, like the movies have obviously all horror kind of does, but the Terrifier movies have a very like dark tone. Like they just feel gritty, and not just because they're gory, even the parts where there's no blood or killing happening, just like the movies have a real specific tone to them. And walking through the house and seeing like the paint and how they textured the walls compared to other houses I've been in, like that was a real niche detail that I was kind of anticipating that they completely crushed. Like I specifically, like any space that's not really like a big showcase of like, hey, this is that scene that happened, where it's kind of filler, even the walls carried this tone of like, this movie is different than stuff we usually do, which was so cool to see come across in the house. Of course, you know, art cafe, clown cafe art was amazing, dancing all the time. The bleach room art, always awesome, always having the most fun ever. I had probably the best scare I had all season in the room right before that, where the gas activated trigger is, the bleach barrels are on the side, and there's that like mangled like bleach victim. That person came like
aggressive,
so far out of where their boo hole region should even be close to, and I wasn't expecting it because I wasn't even near the corner of the room yet, and I like smacked him against the wall from being scared. So that itself gets high regards as just like probably my most memorable scare of the season. And also the finale. I mean, you know, you guys have already hit it, but like doing something a little out there, like by the end of the season, was I a little tired of like the social media aspect that came with it of like, oh my gosh, it's so wet in the Terrifier house. Like, yeah, I was a little tired of it, but like, what a cool thing to step out and go like, what if we make it end with you like feeling like you're just getting poured with blood? Like, props to the creative team for like just taking so many risks on this house, whether it was the content or how they approached doing it.
Yeah, well said. Terrifier is also my number 2. I think you made a really good point there, Brady. That wasn't really on my radar. The sort of texture and tones that came with it almost felt like almost like Grindhouse B-movie type vibe that they kept up with, and I feel like the whole house had that. But honestly, just like front to back, what a fun house that had the scares with it to boot. But let's just talk about art for a minute. It was the icon of the event. You know, whether it was merchandise out there on the streets, he was just getting mobbed by people. I know we had Sergio as almost like a pseudo icon type person, but art was the MVP of the event, and it was just mobbed all the time. But going back to the house, ton of fun. It was like the people who were portraying art, they almost had their sort of set triggers, but then they had kind of carte blanche to do whatever they wanted with guests, which made it so much fun, made it almost like unique interactions every time you went through it. The sights in there, the smells, yeah, it just all worked. And the finale too, just to have something unique where it's your dry path or your symphony of blood, and art sort of ushering you down the symphony of blood path. Just a fun house overall. It genuinely could have gone 1 for me, or 2. We all have it 1 or 2, right? Somebody have it 3, but I think it's going to be up there for most people. Just to finish off with, again, I'm not a big fan of the movies at all, but it just shows how well this character's done and how well the house paid off too. Yeah, number 2. Really pleased with this house.
Yeah, shout out to the traveling art, because honestly, that guy, whoever was playing them, I'm sure like multiple people, just so cool to watch Art just riding around on his little tricycle and just interacting. And the fact that he would legit show up anywhere. Brady,
including the house, mind you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brady, was it that one night where you came in and Art was on top of the building?
Yeah, I think that was something that either I
Right?
just missed because it was opening ceremonies or it started happening second half of the event. But yeah, Art would be like up on the roof towards the front of the park, and I was like, "Hello, what are you doing up there?"
That's awesome. Like that he went up there.
In Finnegan's.
In Finnegan's. Yeah.
Yep.
At Club Horror.
At Club
studio
Horror,
store
over by Diagon Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw him
He
a
was just
couple times.
everywhere. Kudos to Art. Like that was a fantastic addition for him to be out in the park like that.
I think
That was
something really cool that Ash said too is that, you know, you would kind of expect that from the street arts to be able to kind of do these wacky things, but like even in the house, Ash touched on this, like the houses feel a little bit more sort of like, this is your role, this is what the sound your trigger makes, this is where you're located, and that's how it kind of works to an extent. You get some wiggle room, obviously, you grow into it, but in the house even, it felt like it was like, they were like upper management was like, as long as it's something Art would do, go ahead.
Yeah.
Which was so cool, and it provided such an organic, like, not corporate feeling haunted house that sometimes we do get out of Horror Nights just by the nature of like the scale of how successful Horror Nights is at this point. It almost had that like local haunt feel where it was like they can kind of do what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what as well? I think is it Damien Leone? Who's the I felt like the relationship, because I always think with Horror Nights, like if they have a property there, that property's doing Horror Nights a favour, right? By loading the property, I do think this worked both ways. You know, Horror Nights, you know, got the property, but I think Damien Leone and the property itself need Horror Nights just as much. I think it was just a great relationship between both.
I think there was definitely more Art fans after coming to this event.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so. All right, guys. That brings us to the top. The number one, which is obviously an original. And I'm obviously I'm redeeming myself here. Ignoring whatever Ash is about to say when I say this, but it is El Artista.
Woo!
Number one house of the year. Brady gets it. Brady understands. This house was absolutely visually stunning. And like Brady, I am a scenic house girly. I love a good visual. And to me, this delivered on the design of the house, the visuals. I loved the technology that was in this house, all the different Pepper's ghosts. Like not just one or two, there was a handful of Pepper ghost scares. I loved the fact that when you were walking through scenes, you were kind of living in them. So like the captain with his weapon, you could see him 3 different times. Once kind of peering through the glass, again he could pop out at you, and then when you circled through the gargoyle room, you could see him again. I loved the gargoyle scene, obviously, the first time. Like, yes, a bungee scare. I love that. I loved that there was multiple things happening just in that room. You could have the Pepper's ghost. You had the gargoyle on the ground. You had the gargoyle flying. And to rewind back to the beginning with Sergio and that stilt scare, those first few, like every once in a while with the stomping of it coming down the hallway and just absolutely wrecking people, and then coming down for the second scare, wrecking them there. I saw, as Ash said, there was no scares. I saw plenty of times where that person on the stilt was comboing with either Sergio on the ground, or in the next scene, the guy that would pop out there wrecking people. I loved the second courtyard with the kind of like a weeping angel statue that was there. The gargoyle could come out on the balcony. There's another visual bride-ish type person upstairs there. Just gorgeous, large scenery. I loved basically every scene of this house. So I could go through every single moment talking about how much I love it. But I also think that this house is the icon house, because I would argue that Sergio is the icon for the year. His voice is throughout the entire park. The vines from El Artista are on all of these stages and the scare zones. That's on the food booths. He's at the entrance at the end of the night. The gargoyles, all of these creatures came from his visions. So for me, this was like the moment of the year. And this house, I don't know at the end of the season if it would end up in my top 10 of all time, but it's up there. I would have to really sit there and count. But this is one that I will think about for years to come. Just absolutely one of the most visually stunning houses they've ever done.
All right, we had a brief technical moment there, but as I was saying, I am going to cut Tim off from his part here just because it makes sense to piggyback off of Lizz. My number one house this year is Artista. I mentioned being someone who loves scenic. More than I love scenic, maybe even, I love lore. I love when Universal Creative gives us, hey, we've got this original story. You know, we could pull from these IPs, sure, but what if we came up with a house that we don't use one year, we do it one year, and then 5 years later we pull a character or a piece of paper that was in that house and we make it relevant again. And, you know, at this point in the event, we get it a little less frequently than maybe the event was founded on. So when we get it, I latch onto it as a, I'm going to say newer fan because, you know, I've only been going since 2016, which in the grand scheme of thing is new. So for me, it's like as a new fan to be given these, you know, throw me a bone with lore, I'm like, I love it. So this house has scenic, it has lore, it has cohesion and synergy. Like Lizz was saying, like the stuff and the theme of Artista kind of spread across the whole park. The front zone kind of feels Artista adjacent. The music loop is kind of a different vibe this year than the last like 3 or 4, and it really kind of carries and matches into Artista. I love that Sergio is kind of an icon without being an icon since, I don't know, was that 2 years ago now that they were like, we're going to not call them icons or tell you when they are. And it's like, okay, that's for us to decide. The facade is beautiful. I know Ash talked about not much happens. I would completely disagree. I get where he's coming from in the sense that, like, scares were inconsistent, which I think even Lizz agreed. But in terms of nothing happening, fully disagree. Another thing that I love about an original house when it's done right is it will fully tell a complete story with or without actors. The house itself tells this full story, and I love that. I love when that works. It's such a good outlet for when they do original houses. Like, you know, if you take from a property, it's there. It's been laid out for you. You know what to expect. You've read the movie, or read the movie. You've read the book. You've played the video game. You've watched the movie, whatever it is. But when it's an original and you fully understand the concept they were going for, the whole house, points there. They did it. Yeah. And this house really, really did it for me. I love that when you get to that second facade where the zipline gargoyle can go to the outside room and you have that statue. If you look behind you, you can see, like, they even, like, it's not even a part where it's like, oh, don't look behind you, you're not supposed to see that. If you did look behind you, it was the backside of the front of the house that you saw. Like, everything about it was very Blood Moon, which is, like, probably a top 10 for me in the sense that, like, you see rooms from other rooms, you feel like rather than walking through a hallway and maybe revisiting a room in a haunted house, it felt like you were just actually walking through a physical house and coming out where you were supposed to come out if you were to walk through a real house. So, like, all of that worked for me. I could go on and on about this house. Tim?
Same.
Well, I mean, you guys got it right that it's original at number 1, but it's not. It's definitely not El Artista. It's Gulkin.
Well,
so,
it's not.
It is, but it's okay. You know, whatever. I love this house. Has the story, it's got the scenic, and it has the scares. And I'm going to tell you right now, it had the greatest scare of HHN in this house. So if you are walking near where that fence is and you made that 90-degree turn to the right, that guy at the fence, I knew he was coming, obviously after, you know, going through it a couple times the first weekend. You know he's coming at you, but he still got me every single time. Greatest scare for this year for me. I loved when I first walked into this house, and I thought I was walking through the Blair Witch Project when I saw the big wooden, like, person-looking thing. I was like, I know this is going to be a great house. Brady nailed it, you know, with it earlier. I'm with you. I love being able to see another scene from another room into another room. It's just so cool because you're just like, oh, what is that? Now I'm curious on what that's going to be. Man, where do I start? Wicker Man, mind blowing. I was like, this is so fantastic. The final scene going through the Gulkin monster, and the monsters in there just going absolutely bonkers at you in the different the boo holes, because I felt like every single time I was getting wrecked in that hallway. Just, the costuming, the monsters, the scenic, the scares, the story. I love this house. And I know you guys had it lower, and it's totally fine. And I do agree with you, though. I do agree that the scares did get less intense as the event, went on. So I do recognize that. But to me personally, this house just hit everything with me. So that's my number one.
Nice. So 2 for Artista, 1 for Golken, and 1 for the Horrors of the White Six. Where to start with this house? Just amazing. I think it speaks volumes when you hear all these like non-wrestling fans prior to the event have it so high. I can't think of anybody I've spoken to that's not got this high on the list. I'm talking like top 3, not just like top 5, but just top 3. I can't think of anybody who has it outside of that. Everything just hit. It was labor of love letter, passion piece, all the cliches. You can tell it went into this house. I love the start of it, and I love how each member got their own room and kind of showcased them in their own room. The scare actors knew they had it, and they were just going for it. Almost like Insidious last year. They knew they had it and went for it. White Six knew they had it. They had the event in a stranglehold, and they just went for it. I think I had 1 semi-par run through it, which was Ride and Stay and Scream, and there was a couple of boo holes missing, but they didn't bring it down anything. But yeah, just stellar runs all the way through. I'm a wrestling fan. It meant the house kind of meant a lot to me as well. And closing night, managed to sneak a picture with Taylor Rotunda, Captain Howdy himself.
Shut up. I'm sorry, man. God. I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Can't wait to watch.
So that was a nice one.
Why? So you can watch Ash dying in his chair the whole time, and you too?
But yeah, just phenomenal. I'm not going to go on too much because I could be here all night, but what a house. Loved it.
That's it, guys. We did it. We
Woohoo.
ranked everything. How
We
about
sure
that?
did.
We did. I have really one important question for this for HHN34. So obviously a very cohesive event, right? We all agree with that, right? Now, was this event as good as we think it was, or do we think it was because we haven't had like a solid year in a little bit?
I think that's a very important question and little closing conversation for us as we wrap up.
So that's my question to you. So whoever wants to jump on that first.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I think probably about halfway through the event, I told Ash, I said, honestly, I don't even think it was halfway. I think it was like week 2 or week 3, like after opening weekend had kind of like worn off of like the sparkle of like, this is all brand new and we've missed it for so long. I remember, this is going to sound so much more serious than it is. And we all know that theme park Twitter and social media can be like, people can get very opinionated and like almost make it, I don't know, but I was like afraid almost of this opinion, but I remember talking to Ash and being like, am I crazy or is it not like that mind blowing? And he was like, no, I do agree. And I think as the season went on, it wasn't the best event ever like it initially was. I think it is so extremely context driven that like, and I hate to use the word stinker because I think that's really diminishing to what we love about Horror Nights and what the creative team does. But for lack of a better term, like when you compare this year to the last few years that have maybe just been a little bit of a stinker and just not been our favorite events, I think in the context this year felt like such a welcome treat. But I don't think if you take the entire history of Horror Nights, this is like a top 10 event. I think it was just a very fortunate change in the right direction.
And I'm going to jump in here too because I'm with you, Brady. I don't think this was a like spectacular event. Very enjoyable. Obviously, probably one of the better years in the last few years overall. Cohesive, which is great. So you know how in other years, like, as the kids call it, where's that S tier house? Did we have that this year? I don't think so.
Agree.
I say yes, but
Well, no, I'm
no, I
sure,
actually do agree.
okay.
I can get what, if people said there was, but to me, I don't think definitely there was no house, even though I ranked some of them super low, like Dolls and Flesh. Like, I don't think anything was like a terrible C, D house, or I'll say D house, but like anything was like C plus and above, B minus, B, maybe there's probably a couple A's in there for sure, but I don't think there was anything that was so superior where we were like, oh my God, like last year, what was it? Insidious. Right. We were all like, oh my God, this is crazy, For me, Scarecrow, if I'm going way back, that is an S tier house to me. You know what I mean? So like, I'm with you, Brady. I agree. I think there was a super fun, enjoyable overall, a great event. Do I think it's, in the top? No. But I think because we haven't had cohesiveness, and for the last couple of years, it's either been, we've had a couple great houses and then we've had some stinkers, as Brady put it, or the zones are good, the houses aren't, the houses are good, the zones aren't. I feel like everything was good this year, but I don't think it's as stellar and fantastic as everybody thinks, if that makes sense. And that's not like really putting anything against it, because it was a really good year.
Yeah, I think I share a similar sentiment of at the very beginning of the season. It was just this rush of adrenaline, because I feel like the last 2 years just didn't quite hit what we wanted. And if we go back and look, maybe even the year before that as well. So maybe the past 3 years just weren't hitting quite what we wanted. Like you said, it was a mixed match of either we have great houses but not great zones, but this year I felt like everything was cohesive. We had story. The park felt alive. We had these extra experiences. The chainsaws were back. It felt like this rush of adrenaline the first weekend of like, oh my God, we're back. And I think as time went on, I agree. I think some of the original adrenaline moved down for me, but I did kind of go through and think and sort through my brain of my favorite years. And this did end up in the top 10 for me. It's low. It's like number 9, but it is still a top 10 year out of my 22 years of going. So I think if this is still a new event for you, then you saw a very solid year, but it can get even better.
Bingo. Love it. All right, Ash, are you ready?
I'm ready. HHN34, we're definitely back on the right track, I think, for sure. I was wondering, and I think I said this before, is it a reactionary thing where we're saying, fantastic event coming off 33? It was a poor year. I actually thought 32 had a really good mazes overall. So I felt this year had something for everybody. There was so much diversity in the IPs and originals that were chosen that it just worked as a whole year. Like you said, theming, it looks like we're back on track with the scare zones. Not quite there, but we're back on track with the scare zones. I think, like you said, Clown Chainsaw's back, and the street experiences sort of elevated a little bit. And I don't know if you guys, it just felt like there was something a little bit different in the air. It was almost like everybody was having a good time. The closing night had such a weird, bittersweet feeling to it. Not that the event was ending, it just felt like everybody was in a good mood. Everybody was ready to say goodbye to a really good event. And I think the more times we go to Horror Nights together, saying goodbye to the event is always going to be a thing, right? Regardless of how good the year is. But what gets harder and more difficult is like saying goodbye to people. I know it sounds a bit like cringy, but you sort of build relationships with people, and like you genuinely like love people that you see at the event. And you may not see him again until next Horror Nights, So I think that element of it for me is getting a little bit harder to say goodbye to. Because you know me, I'm normally done with the event by like October 1st.
He's like,
This guy's usually ready for
I know
Christmas.
he's already Christmas, exactly.
Yeah, so I think without getting too sentimental and mopey, I think it's like the hangs that make it. And this year was just such good vibes and good hangs this year that it just almost, that is hard to say goodbye to rather than the event almost. But anyway, to sum it up, the event was fantastic as a year. Really enjoyed it. I think it probably will creep in the top 10 all time. I'm sure it will do when you kind of reminisce and look back. But yeah, we're definitely back on the right track, Tim, is what I'm trying to convey,
and I totally agree with that. Yeah. We are definitely on the right track now. So and what's great is next year is an anniversary year. And
oh yeah.
For me and Brady, it will be our 10th year.
Double anniversary for you.
So double anniversary.
So I have extremely high hopes, maybe to the point where I need to lower them. With it being my 10th, it being an anniversary, and the year following what seems to be like the stepping stone year, I'm like, oof, what do we got?
Yeah. Agreed.
Lots to talk about in the next year is what it is.
So yes, exactly. And just we're not going to really get into it, but brief discussion here, or just shout it out here. We already have like some things going on for HHN 35, and we already have permits out there. We have code names for houses. So it looks like modes of transportation, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Sounds like a show
wagon,
for
balloon.
the next time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I just wanted to kind of bring that out. But yeah, this was the ranking episode for HHN 34. This is always a fun episode for all of us, honestly, that we've been doing this for a bunch of years now. So we have a lot planned for you in the future. We promise. We got things in the works, and hopefully we're going to have an episode soon for you. And anybody else got anything before we skip out?
Yeah. I gotta tell
Liz,
them where to find us.
Oh, I forgot about that. Well, before that, does anybody have anything else? HHN 34, anything else that you want to say before we venture to where everybody can find us?
I was going to touch on Ash, being a little emotional, sad boy over there. I think that's worth a little conversation. Not a full one. We got to wrap it up, but I think the relationships and the friendships and the hanging out and stuff is like massive part of Horror Nights. And another thing that I was going to say, if maybe, I don't know, anyone from Universal maybe happens to stumble upon this. Ash talked about maybe only seeing certain people at only 2 months of the year at Horror Nights, and it being hard to arrange to see these folks. Maybe if Universal could do something where, let's say, I had to go to the parks once a week to maybe collect something.
Oh, here it comes.
And maybe give me and my Horror Nights group more of a reason to see each other because of some
codes,
something that has
cards.
A time limit on it.
Yeah.
That would maybe
be
be
there
cool.
once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing about Horror Nights this year. Is like, even though I'm always there, the cards made me feel like I need to make sure I get out there this week, and I know it did for multiple people too, not just me and Ash.
Sure
so
did.
it's like, if we get something kind of cool like that for the fans throughout the year, maybe we'll see some of our Horror Nights friends, not just in September and October.
Sure, that's a good idea.
It was such a thrill to see what card was the week after. Me and Brady always went over, walking over, guessing what would be next week's card, but we're always wrong.
Now, did you guys collect every card? Did you guys complete the set?
Yes.
Everybody complete the set? Okay,
Yes.
cool. Awesome. Very cool. All right, Liz.
He's flexing.
Oh, he's flexing. Look at that.
I've got two.
There we go. All right, Liz.
All right.
You know what has to be
The
done.
important
Oh,
one.
he's got one.
The important one. No, I had others, but I gave them to Brady.
All right, fair. All right, so here we go. You can find us at Stay In Scream Pod on YouTube.
Wait,
Twitter.
stay in or stay
Stay-
in? Like STAYN or STAYIN?
Stay the letter in Scream Pod on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's what we have so
Just
far.
like when you abbreviate mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Stay in
There you
Scream.
go.
Yeah.
Stay in Scream, Mac
Stay in
and
Scream.
cheese. Mac and
Just one last little thing for people who
Oh,
have
if you're
stuck
going to talk about
around
Nightmare
for-
Fuel, don't talk
No,
about
I'm not going to talk about Nightmare
Wait for your own
Fuel. It's
episode for that.
121 minutes. Technically episode 2 for us, so we would be more than grateful to follow us on all the socials that Liz just mentioned, and tell your friend about it. You know, your favorite foursome. Come and follow us. Come and join us.
Here we
Spread
are.
the word.
All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. So until the next
Been a
episode.
pleasure.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
See you guys.